Hi there, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Potato Presents. Today, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome for conversation Ms. Helen Opper. She is, oh man, everything. She is everything arts in Oklahoma City right now. She is I think, one of the few, if not the only, appraisers of art, visual arts. I assume visual arts and also creates a number of shows and also manages the art hall, I believe, in Oklahoma City. But she'll tell us more about that. Welcome, Helen. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Susan. This is pretty exciting.
Yes, it
Nice to
is.
be here.
Yeah, it is great. So, kind of elaborate on my intro. You're like ridiculously involved in the art scene here in Oklahoma City. So, tell us a little bit about what you do and where and all that good stuff.
Okay, so you are correct. I am an appraiser of visual art and a curator. I own my own company called Opper Fine Art, and I provide curatorial and appraisal services to the state. I through my company, I serve private clients for appraisal needs. And then I also run the Art Hall Gallery, which is on Uptown 23rd in Oklahoma City. And I've been running that space for about 5 years. It's a non-traditional alternative art space that shows and sells art by local artists, local meaning any artist anywhere in Oklahoma. Then we've also introduced some guest artists from out of state and even one international artist, but primarily we focus on local artists, and it's been really fun community sort of space to work in for these last 5 years. I also am curating a major exhibition at Oklahoma Contemporary called Art Now, and excuse me, I can talk more about that later on if we want, but it opens later this summer, and it's a guest curated show. I'm a consultant for the organization, and it's a survey exhibition of 27 artists in Oklahoma. So I'm doing lots of exhibitions at the Art Hall and elsewhere. And I'm also an adjunct faculty member at the community college, Oklahoma City Community College.
Good
So
Lord,
I
girl. Good
do a
Lord.
lot of things.
So
Yeah.
what you're saying is you no longer sleep.
I try to sleep. I don't sleep very well, even if I allot the proper amount of time for sleep, because I usually wake up thinking about all the stuff I have to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sleep's important, but
Yeah.
I'll take my, naggy, mom-like person hat off and not nag you about sleep.
No, it's good. It's good.
So I mean, okay. So how did all? I mean, let's just start with the art hall.
Yeah.
How'd that come about? How did you end up managing the art hall space?
Well, it was really an organic thing. I happened to have reconnected with a friend I had known since grade school, and he is a photographer. He doesn't live in Oklahoma City anymore, but we decided to collaborate on an exhibition, and we were just looking for a space in Oklahoma City that would be available for us to use. My sister owns the Pump Bar in Uptown, and she happened to know about this new hallway gallery in the building basically next door, one building over from the pump.
Right.
And so she had me meet her there one day, and that day the owner of the gallery, who owns the building, happened to be there. And so I got introduced and chatted with her and told her I was looking for a space to mount a show. And she said, well, we happen to have this space available right now and you can use it. And so we threw together a show in about 2.5 or 3 weeks and had a big party. And that was late May or early June 2016. So almost 5 years ago, and it was really successful.
Wow.
And they just asked me to basically take over, which was really good for me because I had been back in Oklahoma City for about a year. I had moved back from New York in summer 2015, and I still consult for the company that I was working for in New York. But at the time in 2016, I had a lot more free time and
Right.
I was looking for something local to get involved in as well. And that was perfect. It was a perfect situation. Um, at this point, I'm just going to fast forward because this is kind of relevant. At this point, right now, 5 years later, the gallery is going to stop existing in the form that it has existed these last 5 years. And I'm in the process of reworking with the owners a way for me to probably lease the space and do more of my own projects, passion projects, and that sort of thing
Uh-huh.
in the space rather than sticking to the same model that we've been working with. So we're looking at some changes right now. Um, but the last 5 years have been awesome. And I've worked with over, I don't know how many I need to count, but over 100 artists from all over the state, over probably more like 200, honestly, over the last 5 years, just getting their work in the hall, doing really great programs, community oriented programs. We've donated this space, we've held fundraisers for various community groups. So it's been definitely a community space, non-traditional gallery, but still focusing on the fine arts. And it's been a great, fun, flexible thing for me. So
So for someone who, like me, actually, who doesn't really understand the business side of the art scene, would calling you that the art hall manager be the right way of putting it? Is that the right title, if you will?
yeah,
Not for what's going on in the future, but what you've done in the last 5 years.
pretty much. I call myself the director and curator,
Okay.
just because a lot of people don't know that the staff is literally me and then the owner of the
Yeah.
gallery. But like I said, the owner of the gallery owns the building, and that is a very hands-off approach that the building owners have. So it's essentially me, and then I've hired out little bits of work here and there, and occasionally I've had an intern. But yeah, for those reasons, and because I do everything, I call myself director. I think in the art world, director has a little bit more clout than the word manager, perhaps.
Okay.
And I always like to think about these things because I'm that kind of OCD,
No, no. I
crazy type
mean,
of person.
every every kind of arena has its language, and of course, I want to make
Yeah.
sure that I'm using the right language. So in the situation from a business perspective, for someone who maybe is kind of, I don't know, interested in how the art world, this aspect of the art world works. Um, so as a curator of a show, um, how do you make money? Do you get a percentage of sales? Are you compensated by the gallery owner, or yes?
Yes, I am compensated by the gallery owner. I'm happy to, I'm open about this. I have no qualms discussing it. I don't consider myself an art dealer. I can sell art. I do sell art. Um, but my main focus professionally is as a curator and appraiser. So I would not choose to work on a commission basis. And I do not work on a commission basis. At least I haven't been. Moving forward, if I lease the space, then that will change and I will take the commissions
Right,
rather than billing hourly, essentially, is what I've been doing
right,
basically as a consultant for the uh, real estate company that owns the building and owns the gallery and the folks that own the company. So, yeah, I bill as if I get a 1099 and that kind of work as a consultant. I Every job I have except for my teaching gig is a independent contractor sort of thing that I run through my firm, Opera Fine Art. So
so
that's my personal business setup.
right. So is that like the standard if for curation that somebody just makes a bills an hourly fee or a flat fee, however they choose to bill? But if I'm going to curate a show, typically a gallery owner is going to pay me for that service. Is that
Yeah.
kind of typical?
Yeah, it depends. Like if you're independent like me, I'm completely independent of any, organization, then yes, you either bill, a project rate, an hourly. Hourly is maybe a little less common. It's a little bit different with me and the real estate firm just because they're not an art organization.
Right.
But yeah, an independent curator contracting for a gallery or a museum or a different kind of arts organization or any sort of organization would bill some sort of project, fee or hourly fee. It's probably less common for the curator to take a commission of sales because traditionally a curator isn't the one selling the art. Um, we call me the curator at the art hall because I don't really know why actually. I guess just because I'm the one that deals with all the artists, but it's a little bit most galleries wouldn't call their staff a curator, but if they were doing larger scale exhibitions, they would definitely hire an independent curator to do an exhibition for them, as would a museum, which is like what I'm doing with Oklahoma Contemporary.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
a guest curatorial consulting gig.
So thank you for that. I'm
Yeah, sure.
super ill-informed about the business side of things, and of course, I figure anyone who's watching, I mean, I think your story is a great story. We'll talk about it in more detail here in a bit, but I think your story is such a great story because I think, you know, just to let everyone know, I've known Helen for many, many years, and so I am a little biased because I think she's a lovely human being without all the
Thank
stuff
you.
she's done. But I just think that your story is an interesting story because I think um, you've created opportunity for yourself in a place where one wouldn't think there's a whole lot of opportunity for what you do. And I think you've done that through a super entrepreneurial mindset and a lot of sweat and working your ass off. Um, and so that's kind of one of the reasons, other than the fact that I think you're a lovely human, that I wanted you to be on here because I mean, you're in a way kind of trailblazing for people to do similar things. And so I want to make sure they kind of understand how do you make a living doing something like this?
Yeah.
So did you study art in college?
Yeah, well, I studied art history. So I started out going to college at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I was studying art history, but I didn't like the environment. I wanted something more cosmopolitan and ended up transferring to UC Berkeley, which is like totally completely different than Vassar, and studied art history there, art history and French, and was in the Bay Area for a couple of years working a completely unrelated job, not in the arts, in a hospice actually, which was a very interesting experience. And then went to New York for graduate school and I did my program in museum studies at NYU. So I have an art history degree and a museum studies graduate degree. And there's probably a PhD there in the works at some point, but
Of
I'm
course.
not
Of
rushing.
course, your mother's daughter, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy to do it when I'm 50 like her.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I'm not rushing. I'm enjoying being I'm enjoying having started my own company and successfully
Yeah.
under age 35. So,
Yeah, exactly. So what has surprised you about what a career in art is compared to kind of maybe what you envisioned when you were learning about art in college?
hmm.
Or is it different? Or are you surprised?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's hard to answer because when I lived in New York, I definitely had some of those sort of glamorous types of art world experiences that you sort of think about when you think of the art world. And not to, talk smack on Oklahoma City because I obviously love it. I live here. I chose to move back here as an
Right.
adult. But you don't necessarily have like that level of the kind of glam aspects of the contemporary art world, but it's also not nearly as stressful or cutthroat. And so, in a way, I'm like surprised that I'm working so successfully within the modern and contemporary art field, but without that insane pressure that I experienced when I was living in New York. I had some pretty crazy jobs that like were totally shitty and just were awful, and yet also extremely formative
Right.
and educational. And so I guess the way that it's different is that I didn't expect to be able to make it so successful here. Like I didn't think that like that I could be working at this level with contemporary art in a place like Oklahoma. And that isn't, it sounds like I just am talking, dirt on Oklahoma,
No,
but
I don't
I'm
think
really
so.
not. I just I didn't think there would be the market for my sort of services here.
Yeah.
And I'm greatly surprised and happily surprised that, at this point in the world, Oklahoma City has opportunities and clients for people like me.
Yeah.
So,
Some of that, I don't know. I mean, just from what I've been kind of keeping my eye on what you're doing, and some of that demand has probably been created by you. I mean, I'm not trying to make you blush, but I think that um, you have been pretty instrumental in creating opportunities, and I think opportunities for those that will come after you by being, accessible and seeing opportunity and jumping into the breach, if you will, where something doesn't exist, and then knowing how to do it well. I mean, it's one thing to jump in and bust your ass, work hard, but I mean, if you're a horrible human being or you suck at it or whatever, you can basically ruin it for people coming after you. But I think that because you're doing it well and you're fostering great relationships, you're really creating that marketplace in many ways. So
well,
thank you.
that's very kind and gracious of you. And I mean, I admit to feeling that way on occasion, and I guess like my goal is to kind of help close the knowledge gap that exists within the art world, both in terms of like actual knowledge of art and in terms of the business side and the opacity versus transparency
Right.
of the art world, and like frankly like just getting rid of some of the bullshit. Can I curse on here? Is
Feel
that
free. I may
okay?
drop the F bomb at least once.
Yeah, I mean I curse like all the time these days. It's pretty bad. So
I fucking
um
hear you, sister.
fuck yes, thank you. So yeah, I forgot what I was saying. I got so excited about cursing, but
Talking about, I think you were talking about making the business side a little bit more
yeah,
transparent.
yeah, okay, that. I'm trying to, like with the appraisal stuff, I want to I want people to understand the value of an appraisal and the service that it can provide, and also in terms of like how that can advocate for artists and clients as well, not just like because I want to get paid a lot for a really cool appraisal job. Like I want my clients to understand that it protects them, it helps protect the artist, it helps generate you know legitimacy in some ways for artists careers, um, it depends on, like, for not every appraisal, your basic insurance appraisal isn't going to have anything to do with the artist's career necessarily, but in some cases you can feel like you're advocating for artists through appraisal work. And that's a nice feeling. And I think, I am the only modern and contemporary specialist in the state of Oklahoma who is a member of the Appraisers Association. There could be other people that consider themselves specialists in my field that aren't registered with the association, but if they're not registered with the association, then they're not considered a qualified appraiser with the IRS. So it's a little bit messy. And I'm also the only female member of the Appraisers Association in the state. So I am proud
Go
of that.
girl. You go
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. So that's cool. And like with the curatorial work, I, just want to show artists other than middle-aged white men.
Yeah.
You feel
Yeah.
me? Like I'm just trying to
Not that we don't love
right.
middle-aged white men, but there are a hell of a lot more artists out there that have different stories to tell.
Right. Yeah. So I'm trying to
out
show,
on them too long.
right. I'm trying to kind of create opportunities for those artists that are traditionally underrepresented.
Yeah.
Whether that has to do with their, identity or their level of training or their education or their experience as an artist or where they're from. Any of
Do you
those.
deal with any kind of art, whether it be any kind of visual art? So, sculptors and painters and
Yeah.
photography, any of that?
Yeah, paintings, drawings, prints, photography, sculpture, new media art, which comprises video, other sorts of digital, film,
Okay, I didn't know that.
sound art, that sort of thing, installation art,
So
murals,
probably performance art.
some performance art. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely dealt in a curatorial sense with performance art. I've actually even done some appraisal work on objects that are related to performance art works.
Yeah.
And I've done an appraisal on a mural before, which was super interesting for a federal court case, which we should talk about off the record sometime because that would be really cool to. Anyway,
Yeah. That'd be cool. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, it was a neat project. So yeah, I do all the different kinds of art. I would say I do have a specialty with new media art, with digital and film, video art, and painting, sculpture, that sort of thing, and photography. Basically all of it. But prints are like kind of their own beast. I can definitely work with prints, and I do with shows all the time, and I have appraised many prints, but within the fine arts, prints are a huge field, and there are many specialists within the field of prints itself. So
Yeah. Wow. Who knew?
it's a whole thing. Yeah.
So hearkening back to your New York time a little bit. So you lived in Brooklyn for a number of years, and I think I remember you saying that you loved it. So tell me what you loved about it, what you miss about it. Just tell me why you loved it and what you missed the most.
Yeah. I think about this a lot, and it's a hard one to answer too, but I think what I miss the most is just the daily exposure to a ridiculous variety of sights and experiences, like just being exposed to all the different kinds of people that you see, even just on your daily commute or getting outside to go run an errand or something, is really unique to New York. And you can experience it in other cities, certainly. But I've lived in San Francisco, and I lived in New York, and I think in New York it's more pronounced. I lived in a really funky neighborhood in New York called Bushwick,
Mhm.
which now is probably one of the most in demand neighborhoods to live in. And it's like the hipster neighborhood. And back in the 80s, it was still dangerous and there were warehouses and artists started to move in. And then it got more and more kind of gentrified. And even in the 5 years that I lived there, I noticed a difference. But um, I miss the colorful diversity of my neighborhood. I miss the biker gang bar called Razor's Bar and Lounge that was across the street from my bedroom window that would sometimes keep me up till 5 in the morning. They would host like a biker party until 5 a.m. And then at 9 a.m. the next morning, they'd be setting up for a quinceanera party for like the Dominican family that lived above the bar. And just in like one day I was walking to the subway and I looked down and there's a chicken walking on the side of the road next to me and just weird shit like that. I really miss the weird shit. And okay, I'll be serious for a second.
Okay.
I miss the proximity to art and the ability to go see the best art in the world, some of the best art in the world in, easily just going and seeing whatever you want, basically whenever you want. And not just MoMA and the Met and, the big ones, but being able to go see galleries, like 500 galleries in a 2 block radius or something crazy like that. There's just so much as a visual person. There's so much there. Um, and there's a lot to see here. There's a lot you can find things to see anywhere, but the density is something that is undeniable about New York. So
Many
definitely.
years, many years of congregation of artists, I think.
Oh yeah.
It's hard for, I think, hard for any other place to catch up with that kind of same, you know,
Yeah.
immigrants landing on shores and artists among them, and
Right.
people hunkered down and making art. And I just one would hope that I feel like sometimes that Oklahoma City's um, uh, downfall, not downfall. I think the biggest black mark against Oklahoma City in many ways is its homogeny, the fact that we lack um, a depth of diversity. It's not that we don't have diversity, but
Right.
we lack a depth of diversity. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there because my dogs are, hold on.
Okay. No worries.
Okay, this is the first time this has happened in a Potato Presents recording, but it happens. They're warned in my bio that my dog's name. So, I mean,
Even potatoes have dogs,
that's right. That's right. They roll me around. That's how they play. Anywho, I think that uh, what I was saying was I think that the greatest thing for Oklahoma to overcome when it comes to really um, so much, whether you're talking about new ideas, new businesses, or art, or is its homogeny. I think uh, the challenge when you have a place where a lot of people are the same is that is attracting people to make it otherwise.
Right.
And we've been doing a pretty good job of attracting people, and it's slowly changing,
Right.
slowly. But I think that the more people with different thinking, whether we're talking about business and what types of business you should have and how you run your businesses, and artists and the type of art, and obviously the art itself, and the people making it. You know, the more we get away from middle-aged white guys and to people of color and women of color, and you know differences in identity, trans artists, and
Right.
other members of the LGBTQ plus uh, groups. I just think that if everyone could understand that those things make a richer life,
Right.
um, our lives would be richer. So,
Right. Agreed. Yeah. I think to add on to that, one of the issues with Oklahoma City is that the diversity is kind of hidden here. And we have a vibrant Guatemalan community. We have a vibrant Ethiopian community. There's a West African community. There is a Persian community. I know because my partner's father is part of it. There's a small Israeli community. Like there are these communities here that are not visible, and no one in a position of power is doing anything to make them visible.
yeah,
And so other members of those communities and other minority communities see no reason to come and join because they don't see themselves reflected here.
right.
So yeah, I think not to make it totally all about me and what I'm doing, but
It is about you today.
well, it is about right. So what I try to do is like get those people in and make them visible through showing their art
Yeah,
and talking to them and giving them the same respect in a conversation about art that I would one of Oklahoma City's, treasured longtime artists that
right.
already has all the support and visibility that they need. Um, you know, for so long here, so many of the same artists have been shown and done the same projects and events and have the same collectors and all that. And that is often the case in lots of places, but you know, like somebody's got to switch it up. So that I'm trying to do that. And I think leaving Oklahoma and coming back was crucial for me. If I had stayed and gone to OU honors college, it would have been great. My life would have had a completely different trajectory though. And I think that Oklahoma needs to recognize that they need to reattract some of us folk,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and yeah, so yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Brooklyn, for you know, teaching you what it had to teach you so you could come back and let it benefit the Oklahoma City,
Yeah,
Oklahoma, the state, but specifically the
yeah,
city area. Um, so I mean, we've kind of already touched on a lot of this, but I'm going to make you boil it down
yeah.
to one or two things. So tell me what you think is the most interesting thing about your life. I mean, not just your work. I mean, that your work is what you do. It's not who you are. It's a reflection of some of your traits. But what is the most interesting thing about your life, or you, or yes, both?
Well, I don't want to give like a cop out sort of answer, but I feel like the kind of patchwork quality to my life, to my background, and to my life experiences, to the places I've lived, to my family members, to my travels. I'm very much like a multiplicitous kind of person, if I can say that without making myself sound bad. I'm Jewish from Oklahoma City, so I'm already, I'm a white girl, so I get that. But like I'm already less than 0.1% of the population where I'm from. So even though I look like everyone else here, I grew up with um, a much different experience of what it was like to be a kid and
You had a bat mitzvah.
yeah, I had a bat mitzvah. I, was the Jewish kid in most of my classes growing up. I also went to really privileged schools as a kid. And I don't know that my family wasn't at the same level of economic, we weren't as wealthy as many of the people that I grew up with and many of the people I went to school with, but I was just as well educated and, you know, have that diversity in my life. And um, my parents are both educators, and that has had a lot to do with my, like, my valuing education. I'm not really answering your question. Hold on, let me get back on topic.
Just what's
Um,
well, you kind of are. I mean, what's the
Kind
most
of,
interesting
yeah,
thing
yeah.
about your life and you?
Yeah, just all the different things. Like sometimes when I was living in New York and I would have a particularly glamorous New York experience, I would feel like, God, I'm just this like girl from Oklahoma. Like what is, how is this happening? But I could be at a VIP donor event at the Whitney Museum one night and then the next day, you know, be attending like the I don't know, like the Our Lady, the Virgin of Guadalupe festival in Bushwick the next day. Is like this mix of high and low is kind of how I see my life. And I'm not saying that the celebration in my neighborhood was low and the museum was high, but just the kind of vast diversity of experiences and people that I've met and friends that I have. I have a huge assortment of friends, and I really value that. My travel experiences have been really formative for me, and I've always prioritized travel, and I think that's been a big part of who I am and why I have the confidence that I do. Um, and also has informed my desire to be inclusive and diverse in my professional practices.
Right.
Is definitely a direct result of my upbringing as somebody kind of different in their identity, and then also my travels and life experiences. um, so yeah, I mean, I think just all the different things that make me who I am. um, I've got, on my Jewish side of the family, we have Holocaust survivors and victims in my family. I'm named after a victim. Then on my mother's side is the Western European side, and just have a really like I channel generational stuff a lot. I feel the generational history of my family. That's something I think about a lot,
Yeah.
and so that is definitely something that is very unique about me, but that's also unique for everybody. So it's
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think um your travel and the different places you've lived and the different people that you've been exposed to and gotten to know certainly impact you and change you and maybe make you more multi-layered than maybe somebody who has never been out of the state of Oklahoma and has that one black friend and you know what I mean. So I mean, I think we kind of are. I say in a way we kind of are what we feed ourselves, right? So um and that doesn't mean you necessarily have to travel to
right,
get other
right.
experiences. I say all the time that I've done a lot of armchair traveling just through
Mhm.
books, because I'm very intentional about the
Absolutely.
types of books I read so I mean we are what we feed ourselves, whether that is experiential or what we listen to or what we watch or whatever. So I think that you hit the nail on the head. Um,
Well, good. Yeah. It's all the things,
yeah. So kind of to talk a little bit about books. So what's your favorite book right now and why?
Favorite, I don't like answering favorite kinds of
Okay, that's
questions,
why I
but
said right now.
right
Favorite
now.
right now.
So
Next week it could be different.
so I'm going to tell you what I have read recently and really loved.
Okay.
Because right now I'm reading Boomtown by Sam Anderson because I've wanted to read it since I first heard about it,
Right.
but I don't know if I love it because he talks so much shit on Oklahoma. I don't know if I love it.
I've got that book. I haven't read it. It's gonna probably be something I read in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very far in, so I don't know. It's only the first 50 pages that I've been reading, and I'm kind of like, he's talking so much shit. Like, can he make this sound any worse? But we'll see. I am really into Louise Erdrich
Uh-huh.
these days, the Native American author
Yeah.
who's been around since the 80s. My mom turned me on to her I think when I still lived in New York, I read The Beat Queen. And then I recently joined a book club, and I had just finished Love Medicine
Uh-huh.
before I joined the book club. And then in the book club, I suggested that we read The Night Watchman, which is her most recent book. Wait, yeah, I think that's her most recent book. Roundhouse, that's not recent. That's just a different one she's really well known for. And so Night Watchman and Love Medicine are definitely two of my favorites right now, even though I've finished them already. But then I also read Michelle Obama's Becoming.
Isn't that fabulous?
Oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, I've started Obama's book, A Promised Land, as well.
Got it. I haven't started it yet though.
Yeah, I am not I'm not that. I prefer novels and fiction, honestly. But his writing style is a little more dense than Michelle's too. So we'll see. It's going to be one that I work on over time.
Right.
But yeah, I think for favorite, I'm going to go with Louise Erdrich.
Night Watchman and Love Medicine, right?
Yeah, those two.
So so I have the potato has
Yeah.
a bookshop, an online bookshop called Book Nerd of Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
And
I've
yeah,
seen a post about that. The
yeah,
potato post about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, everyone knows who I am. I'm just wearing a filter. Makes me brave.
I don't know. Are you sure?
So I look good as a potato.
You do.
I do. I look great.
Yeah.
But anyway, I tell people to go there. I don't really make any money off the books if they buy them, so I don't really care if anyone buys them. But I have lists. I have like lots of lists
Oh,
on
cool.
there. So like I have the books I read in 2020, the books I read in 2019, the books I read in 2018. And then I've got so I do this little empowerment, Linda and I do this little empowerment book club thing every month where we buy 2 books from a particular group we want to empower from a bookstore owned by them. And
Wow.
so like this next month is LGBTQ plus authors.
Uh-huh.
The current month that we're in is Latinx authors. So anyway, so I also have a list called Diverse Voices that has those books in there. But I have put a new list up that are the Potato Presents guests
Oh, heck yeah.
recommendations.
Cool.
So anyone watching, you can go to the Book Nerd of Oklahoma bookshop, and you can just scroll down to the list that is recommendations, and you can get recommendations from the various Potato Presents guests. So you can read what these fabulous people are also reading.
I love that.
So, what is your favorite movie right now, and why?
Mm. I honestly had to text my boyfriend and be like, "What movies have we watched recently that were good?" Because I couldn't think about it. I couldn't think of a movie that I saw. Well,
I'm more of
I
a book person than a movie person. So
yeah, I feel like when I watch stuff, it's usually mindless, stupid shit like shows, because if I'm watching TV, I'm like really tired and kind of not paying that much attention. We do watch movies on weekends sometimes, and we would go to movies too. But to give an answer, this is not a favorite movie, but I just watched Pieces of a Woman because when I opened Netflix, I don't even put this on like the favorites list because it's almost like embarrassing that it's such a sad, sad, sad movie that I can't say it's a favorite, but extremely touching and well done. And the only reason I watched it was because of the title and the cast. And when I opened Netflix, it was like Netflix Oscars picks. And I don't pay attention to the Oscars, but I wanted to know what films were up for Oscars, or I don't even have the Oscars even taken place. Like, I don't even know.
I don't really know. I think
I'm
the
really,
Golden Globes
really bad.
did, but I don't think the Oscars have. But we need to talk to Alex Picard Davis, and she needs to set us on a proper path when it comes.
Yeah, we really need to talk to Alex Picard Davis. I kind of think the Oscars have happened, have not.
Yeah, I think
Anyway,
Golden Globes have happened, but the Oscars haven't. But
right. So this is up for an Oscar for Best Actress. And I don't know, have you heard of this movie,
I
Pieces
have
of
not.
Woman?
I have not. I'm gonna look it up when we're done here. I'm gonna go in the other room and look it up and find out what it's about. One
What,
Night in Miami is the movie that's out there that I haven't seen that I really want to see.
oh, I want to see that
Yeah,
too.
because
Yeah.
I just love all the actors. I love the story, and I love um the director. So uh,
Yeah, I am. A lot of the movies that I've seen previews for have looked really good. I just haven't gone down that path yet. I've been so ridiculously busy with work for the last, oh, I don't know, 8 months that I haven't really had time to like
gotta make time for the
do
important stuff,
anything or
girlfriend.
remember.
Gotta make time for the important stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
We don't want
I've
you burnt out. You're a trailblazer. You need to keep blazing trails. Don't
well,
you can't stop and say I'm tired now.
I
I'm done
prefer to be
blazing.
outside and go on hikes and stuff. Like when I have free time, I don't really
I
like
get you.
to sit on my ass. I'm not, I mean, I do. I do.
Yeah,
I love sitting on my ass, but I end up doing that at night,
yeah.
like after working all day. And so when I have a whole chunk of free time, I'd much rather go on a day hike or,
I get you.
you know, that
I
sort
get
of
you.
thing. I'm really into hiking, so
Yeah, me too.
kind of my
Me too.
thing.
Just recently got into
Yeah, I've seen that.
it. So I'm gonna throw you for a loop because
Sure.
to 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 just kind of let everyone know, I typically will tell my guests kind of what I'm gonna ask. And but I want to ask you a couple of questions that I hadn't put on the list. Nothing scary.
Sure.
What scares you the most about what's happening in the world right
Oof.
now, or disappoints you? It doesn't have to be scary necessarily, but what is the thing that disturbs you the most about what's going on in the world right
I think the fact that differences between people are being pronounced um, rather than differences being diminished. And it's a little bit of a pessimistic perspective, but I think marginalized groups are probably experiencing more extreme marginalization. Um, I mean, like honestly, people like me, like I'm fine, like
now? Right.
I'm not really, I haven't been impacted in a negative way other than, like peripherally. But
Right.
I think Black people, people of color, Indigenous people, like the rise in murdered and missing Indigenous women.
Right.
I think all the fucked up shit going on in the world with the pandemic and the killings of innocent folks, Black people, and mentally disturbed individuals as well. Pardon. I think these issues are only getting worse by, after going through what we've all gone through.
Right.
I think maybe, maybe on the outside, we're all a little more lovey-dovey because we're excited to see each other. We're all getting vaccinated and we're like happy. COVID is slowly drifting away. Things are sort of getting back to normal, but like really, what's really getting back to normal is like the shittiness of so many marginalized people's
Right.
lives. And I don't know that like going through this horrible thing that the whole world has gone through, I don't know like what that will have changed in the long run.
Right.
So that's what scares me the most and disappoints me the most at the same time. That said, I think people have gotten like really creative. And if a fine art appraisal business can succeed in Oklahoma during a pandemic, I feel like there's hope for all kinds of other businesses and opportunities to arise from this also.
Right.
But I don't think that what I'm, I don't think that the good coming out of this is like fixing the bad necessarily.
Right.
So that's my feeling on it. I mean, I've been getting updates on my phone all day about the trial, and I have not even been able to look at them because I'm just like, it's probably terrible. Like, I don't really want to read about it until it's done. So I don't have to go through like the mental, emotional ups and downs of this. Like, it's
Right.
just, what's the fucking point, you know? Um, Privileged position, I acknowledge it. But you know yeah, I think that's my answer, is that I fear that the people who are already experiencing hardship are probably experiencing exponentially worse hardship.
So, on the flip side of that, what is exciting? What excites you about what's going on in the world right
I do think that some people are getting a little more open-minded about what needs to happen, um even if it's like the people that sort of already knew what needed to happen.
now?
I
Yeah.
think I think we're sort of spreading the gospel a little bit more effectively, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like I'm thinking about my show at Oklahoma Contemporary right now, and I'm thinking about I have 27 artists. More than half of them are artists of color or from some, they're more than half are artists of color. So, I think like I think there are more and more exhibitions and events and programs and collections that are becoming more inclusive in some ways like this.
Yeah.
And I'm only speaking about the arts because that's my bag, but
Right.
um, yeah, I think that some of the structural issues are slowly starting to be recognized and reconciled with.
Right.
Um, so, I mean, I do have some hope for like organizational changes within my field. And I think there's an increase in transparency starting to happen. More and more conscientious workers that want, to make things better for other people in the arts. So, yeah,
Yeah. Good. Good.
I think, I hope, like, I hope that's happening.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so we've arrived at the last question.
Ooh,
You ready?
yeah, I think so.
So, what do you think, or what do you believe, or what is your purpose in life? Your purpose.
My purpose in life.
Mhm. Yep.
I think um I didn't think about this in advance. You told me not to, so
Good.
I didn't think about it. Um, but I have to say, like, I feel like I keep going back to the same things. Like, my purpose in life is to demystify the art world bullshit.
Right.
Um, because the farther, and not only to demystify it, but to show how the art world, how the arts, and I really do mean, like, I'm a visual arts person. Of course, I believe in theater and dance and poetry and literature and all the things, but my field is visual arts. So my purpose is to show how working with the visual arts can increase opportunities for others and create opportunities for others And I don't just mean like subject matter of art, but the things that we do with it and the way that it can respond to issues. Um, so I think my purpose is to figure out how to kind of connect, you know, the general population with like the fine art world population, and to bridge that gap, and to figure out how I can do what I actually like doing, which is like I love doing appraisals. I love writing about artists. I love picking out pieces from an artist's body of work and figuring out where to put it on the wall. Like, I
Yeah.
love that stuff. This is my, it's my thing. Um, so it's like my purpose in life is figuring out how to make what I find fun and entertaining meaningful.
Right.
And because for a long time, I've kind of wondered, and I know a lot of other artists and art workers think about this too, is like, why are the arts important? Like, who the fuck cares about, the value of a painting? Like, why is it relevant? Why is it important that people see this show and understand this about this artist or whatever? And for me, it's like figuring out how to communicate those things, which is like a struggle for me all the time. Like that's the struggle, and
Yeah.
that's the purpose. So
Yeah.
I
Cool.
think, yeah,
You're
and
you're a role model
well, thank you.
for not just women, but for, I mean, just entrepreneurial thinkers about how you can take a love and make a living at it, how you can fill a gap or how you can fill a void, um, where something doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Maybe because people didn't know they needed it, and showing them that they need it and being
yeah,
successful at it. So I,
yeah.
as an Oklahoman, want to thank you for doing what you're doing and having the courage to jump in there and do it, and continuing to trailblaze for those that come after you.
Well, I appreciate the sentiments. It's I have worked really hard, but I have to say, in the arts, I don't think anyone goes into it, you know, to get rich or anything, because the expenses of all of our degrees and certifications are
Oh,
such
hell
that
yes.
it's going to take me my whole damn life to pay them back, you
Oh,
know.
hell yes.
But it's really it's a combination of my it's not just my own spirit, it's also my willingness to have put the time, work, and money into what I had to do to get where I am. So I think it's important to note that it's not like it didn't just magically happen. Like I
Right.
really, you know, I trained for it, I got educated for it, I got accredited for it, did all the
Blood,
things.
sweat, and tears and money.
Yeah, all the things anyone has to do for their own
Right.
field.
Right.
You're an
Right.
attorney, like you got to do all the things.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, see, now you're just outing me as a damn dirty lawyer.
well, no,
I'm just
not
teasing.
every potato can be a lawyer too. So,
Yep, some of us can, only a few of us can fill that, fill those, all those, all those hats at the same time.
yeah,
Lawyer, potato,
yeah,
um, book
gotta
book
become
nerd.
diverse. Yeah,
Okay, well, so tell us, if somebody wanted to know what you're doing, what shows are coming up for
yeah,
you, or wanted to get in touch with you about an appraisal project, or if they
sure.
wanted to do an internship, an unpaid internship or something. Um,
I believe in paying people for their work.
yeah. So how would they find out about what you're doing?
So I have a website. It is www. Ooh, the lighting just got way different on my end. I don't know what happened, but
Oh, well, that's weird.
yeah, okay.
Technology is a
Anyway,
wonderful thing.
www.opperfineart.com. It's OPPER, fine art. Also helenopper.com. They go to the same place. My email is helen@helenopper.com. And I'm on the social media, Opera Fine Art. I don't have a Facebook business page yet, but that's probably something I should hire an intern to do.
So what
Uh,
are you when you say social media, what do you got, an Insta account?
yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but I don't really use Facebook for business because I don't have a page. It's just my own account. But I do, it's Opera Fine Art on Instagram.
Now, you know that you could get a business Facebook page, then just post to Instagram and have it post to your
Yeah, I
Facebook
know.
page.
I'm just lame like that. I haven't gotten there yet. I did everything else first.
The potato has many locations.
Yeah, so that's how. I am always happy to chat with people. I do a lot of different things and have clients all over, and I'm happy to talk. So
And for those of you watching, we'll be putting those links in the caption for this presents project. So I am so thankful to you, Helen, for taking the time to share a bit of yourself and your business, and just being so forthcoming with information and teaching us. And I know that we're all the better for it. So thank you very much for being here.
thank you for having me, and you are very welcome. It was super fun. I like looking at the time and thinking, my God, I could chat for hours about this.
We
So
might have to have a come back together
yeah,
thing, in a few months, and just
I
kind of
love it.
connect. Okay.
Yeah, my museum show will be up, and I'll my hair will be probably gray by then. So
Okay, that'll be interesting.
yeah,
I will look as a potato exactly the same. Just saying.
good.
Yeah,
That's smart.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the tan going on, so
Yeah.
just saying.
You're looking good.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. All right, so until next time, potato folks, we will see you then. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you.
All right,
Potato.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.